Let's make my vintage wings, which uses a layer cake and half a yard of background or accent fabric for a 51-inch by 59.5-inch quilt. Vintage Wings is based on a Shoo fly block, which I would like to thank an amazing subscriber for requesting a pattern using the Shoo fly block. I loved the idea. Now for the fabrics, I am using Willow by Sharon Holland, and for the background, Cloud in Deco Stitch, all from Art Gallery Fabrics. But let's go ahead and get started. With your background yardage, you are going to cut 6 2-inch by width of fabric strips and subcut them into 105 2-inch squares, which I've already done. Then you are going to select 21 10-inch squares, and you are going to cut 4 4-inch squares and 4 2-inch by 4-inch rectangles. Then lastly, you will trim the remaining 21 10-inch squares down to a 9-inch square. And with all that said, I will have a free PDF pattern linked down below in the description for you. Now to make a block, you will need 4 4-inch squares and 4 2-inch by 4-inch rectangles in the same print and 5 2-inch background squares. You're going to place one background square in the center, and with the remaining 4 background squares, you are going to draw a 45-degree line from corner to corner and place them all around the 4.5-inch squares towards the center. What we are going to do is snowball all of those inner corners. Now, just a quick tip, to make this pattern go quickly, you can just chain piece one by one for all of your snowball corners instead of making one block at a time. But back to our quilt block, you are then going to sew directly on that line, and we are going to use the old school method here just to make it a little bit easier on us. But once you have sewn on that line, you will then take a pair of scissors or a rotary cutter and trim a 1/4 inch away from your sew line. Now, if you are cutting with a rotary cutter, feel free to save those smaller triangles if you would want to form those tiny half square triangles. That would be fun. But once all of your corners are snowballed, we are going to sew our blocks into rows, and then lastly, sew our rows together to complete a 9-inch quilt block. Then you'll just repeat this step until you have made a total of 21 quilt blocks. Then once all of your quilt blocks are made, you will then take them and your single print 9-inch squares and lay them side by side, alternating between the two in a 6x7 block layout. Then as always, you'll sew your blocks together to form rows, and then lastly, sew your rows together to complete your quilt top. And here is what my quilt looks like all complete. For the backing, I am using a coordinated print from within the collection. And for the thread choice, I am going with glide threads in the color khaki. And here is what my vintage wings looks like all finished. I chose Marion for the quilting, which I will have linked down below in the description. And I want to once again thank that fellow subscriber for requesting a Shoo fly block. But if you could please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified for your next amazing quilt project.